Are you an angel? Yeah, sure, whatever. You got any ketamine?
Hey guys.
Hello friends. As you know, from the past couple of weeks and videos, I was highly anticipating to make a video on Moon Knight, and my original plan for this video was to rewatch every episode, but midway through watching the first episode, I decided to go against this plan, simply because it takes so much time and got a busy schedule this weekend, and this is simply not possible. Maybe I'll make a part 2, and if I didn't make this video now, then I would miss the release window, and that will lead to me putting my Moon Knight review on the expired review list, and I know for a fact that my expired reviews are not watched. So either I had the choice to skip the video altogether for this weekend, or do it now and do it differently than planned. And I'm going with this. Anyway, let me say, generally, I was surprised. It looked good for the most part. Here and there was some unfinished CGI, but it's okay, you know. But when we are already talking about visuals, let's just say I saw this short little film where someone edited Moon Knight into Civil War, and it didn't look out of place. Now, I don't know if that's a good fact or a bad fact. It's just that those Marvel products have such a similar style nowadays that even something that's now made wouldn't look too far away or too strange in a different thing. As you know, there are many channels on the internet dedicated to like putting other characters from other films into the MCU movie scenes and stuff like that. Anyway, back onto the review. Now, I generally like the story and all the episodes. I thought episode 1 was interesting enough to keep you hooked for the next couple of episodes. Episode 2 was just as interesting, learning more about the character dynamics. I think the only episode that I didn't like was episode 3, which is the middle point, so to speak. That was really boring to see overall. But then episode 4, 5, and 6 were pretty good again. I have to bring up the pacing issue. It's not as bad. I think they're nailing it slowly down with the pacing, and this really felt like a mini movie. It felt better than the other shows, which were too rushed. Like, for example, Loki, and Loki felt rushed because it tried to tell such a grand story. Yeah, it's a smaller scale story, more about personal relationships and identities and how that's all formed and can be formed, and yeah, it worked better here. Now, Moon Knight is a character that I have been sort of interested in for years, but never really got to the chance to read a book. I mean, when the new Moon Knight show dropped, I also bought the Jeff Lemire run, at least the first issue of the Jeff Lemire run, which is good because the Moon Knight show is based so much on that particular comic book storyline, taking many elements from that. I'm not too mad about the changes they did to the different identities of Moon Knight. For example, Stephen Grant is no longer a millionaire, he's an everyman. Jake Lockley is also very different, but I can't talk about that because of spoilers, and the only one who remained practically the same is Mark, who's a mercenary. Yeah, I think Oscar Isaac gave a fantastic performance as the different versions of the character, and how he switched was just great to look at, and noticing all those subtle details like mannerisms, accent changes was great to see. Now, I do have some issue with how the Jake Lockley identity was used. So they made some major changes to the Jake Lockley personality, which was in the beginning interesting when you see Mark / Stephen black out and both have no idea what just happened. It creates great interest, and I get why you do that, and for the most part it's, but they do the same thing in episode 6, and that felt like a cop out, you know. So usually what happens when Mark switches to Jake Lockley, everybody around him dies, and they did that in episode 6, the final episode, just showing off screen, and I felt that was kind of lazy, you know. Oh, we don't know what to do, we wrote ourselves in a corner, well, we just let everything interesting happen off screen and then cut back. Felt lazy. I didn't like it. Another thing that I didn't like was Alpha Hero. Now, in the beginning he seems fairly interesting, but you know, the gig is fairly obvious and dries fairly quick. So unlike the Kingpin or Kilgrave, where you could still expect some surprises, he just delivers straight in his mission, and he doesn't have that much going. There are hints that he was previous avatar of Khonshu, but that doesn't make him very interesting. In fact, it makes him even less interesting because it's the principle of fighting yourself, kind of. And that just has nothing to do with Ethan Hawke. There were some slight variations to the Alpha Hero character, because at one point Stephen and Mark land in an insane asylum, and they imagine, or maybe it was real, you don't really get to know, that Hero is the doctor of this insane asylum and treats Mark / Stephen and whoever hides in there too, and nobody too. That was kind of cool, I won't lie. Then we have Layla, who's a stand-in for Marlene from the comics, and again, we don't get to that much about Layla unless you're familiar with the comics and can make some certain name connections. Still, Layla is kind of interesting, kind of cool. But she doesn't particularly stand out in comparison to other female heroes. It's more standard, but she actually gets to do some stuff and doesn't become the avatar of a god until the last episode, and it still has some cool scenes. I already praised Oscar Isaac. Then there's also Khonshu. I forgot who did a voiceover for Khonshu, but it's great, because you really get a sense of feeling that Khonshu is this grey character, and you shouldn't trust him. He may be intense but his way of doing things is certainly different to how we perceive good or evil, and in our eyes, Khonshu is more morally grey, but he probably thinks he's just in his own eyes and how he uses other people. There's a great moment where he, in episode 4, where Mark is absent and Khonshu goes immediately to Layla and asks her to be her new host, showing how he really doesn't care about humans. It's just about delivering justice and protecting travelers of the night. There's some amazing camera shots and transitions thrown in into the show. I don't think Marvel wasted any money producing that show, or rather Disney, and I don't know too much about the ID, so I can't judge that part, but I think they did quite a research. The director of the show is Egyptian, so a lot of Egyptian knowledge about culture, about the gods, was sewn into the show quite good, because he has just a different perspective than us, and I mean, that's really well done, that Marvel gives the opportunity to a foreigner to do a character out of his perspective and how he perceives it. I have to say also that I wish we had got a little bit more Moon Knight in action, like full-on costume and everything. The costume is also great, and it's some difference to the Mr. Knight persona, here making it a suit of Steven when he transitions into Moon Knight, and Mark has just a regular costume, so it's gonna be interesting what kind of white costume Jake is gonna be wearing if there's a season 2, which I don't think so, because apparently Marvel sent in Moon Knight to the Emmys as a miniseries, which requires there to be only one season. Generally, I'm really surprised, it wasn't that too much of a mindfuck or anything like that, but it's good entertainment, and it's good seeing Marvel doing something actually interesting and picking an obscure character like Moon Knight. He's often compared to Batman, which I don't get, because when you look at them and deeply, yes, they're both troubled people, but there's a fundamentally different way of how Batman works and how Moon Knight works, because Moon Knight never had this classic identity. Every writer just went in and did something different. So in the 70s, when the character was created, had some more light-hearted stuff, although Moon Knight was for his time already kind of a hardcore anti-hero, and then he gets also some more brutal stuff during the 2000s, and just even in the way how Moon Knight and Batman operate is totally different. And this is, like I said, because Moon Knight doesn't have a clear character, and he's both so interesting but also a blank canvas where everybody can experiment and do their own thing. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I'm stalling here a bit time because I really don't know how to rate the show. I think I would give it an 8 out of 10 if you ask me. And that's gonna be it. I think if I can manage to soon watch the new Doctor Strange video, then there will be also something. Then there will be also a video about that film, and it's gonna be interesting because the trailers didn't make me hype for the film, but I still wanna see it. Yeah, so that's really gonna be it. If you like this video, then share it, like it, subscribe it, do whatever you want with it. Tell me how wrong I am or how right. Share it with your friends, as this really helps keeping my motivation up and everything. And we see us soon.
Well, the books are full of words that you read, and the show gets me paid.